Hello everyone, it's Annie and I'm here today with the mid-year book Freakout tag, and this is my favorite tag to watch and I loved making it last year, so I am really excited to dive into this and tell you all about my favorite books that I have read in the first half of 2022. There are a lot of great ones, so let's dive in. So the first question is the best book that I've read so far this year. And this is tricky. I have two. I'm gonna have multiple books for like all of these. They also happen to be the first two books that I read this year. So yeah, I guess we started the year off with a bang and we've gone downhill a little bit, but that's okay. So first we have The Traitor Baru Cormorant by Seth Dickinson. This is an amazing sapphic fantasy, just absolutely stunning. The world building in here. And Baru Cormorant is the most ruthless main character. I love her. I'm obsessed with her. And I need to read the sequel. I have the two sequels, and Seth Dickinson has said that he's working on the fourth. It's still not published, but he's still working on it. And I just love this. It's just impeccable. 5 out of 5. It just, wow, I loved it. And the second book I don't own, but it is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I know is super hyped up, but honestly, it deserves it. Like, it is so good. It is told in an interview style, and it's about this Hollywood golden age starlet who is bisexual, and it talks about her 7 husbands and also her one girl that she wishes was her wife, and it is so good. I just loved everything about it. I was hooked, and she really read like she was a real celebrity. It's just astonishing that this was fiction. Like, she really seemed like she was a real person. So I loved this book so much. The hype is definitely deserved. So next we have Best Sequel, and I have not really read that many sequels this year. I think I've only read 2. And so I'm going to be picking Godslayers by Zoe Hanna-Mikta, which is the sequel and the second book in the duology for the Gearbreakers duology. And you all know that I love this. It's a sapphic, like Pacific Rim inspired mecha sci-fi. It's YA. It is so action-packed and intense and violent, but also soft. I love it so much, and Godslayers did not disappoint. I just finished it like a day before before filming this, and I just absolutely loved it. So if you liked Gearbreakers, this, trust me, it does not disappoint. It is so good, so exciting. And if you haven't read the first book in this duology, definitely do so if you're into mechas at all. It is just so amazing. So new releases that I have to read. I am ashamed that I have not gotten to these yet. I'm trying to get to all my most anticipated books this year. First is She Gets the Girl, which has already came out like months ago, and actually I went to Barnes & Noble the other day and they didn't have it. I was planning on buying it, but they didn't have it, so that's their fault. I am obsessed with this idea. It's a contemporary romance YA, which is not really my thing, but it's sapphic, so yeah. And the second one is The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School, which just sounds absolutely amazing. It just came out recently, and actually, yeah, Barnes & Noble didn't have that one either, but oh well. This is also a YA contemporary, and I am just obsessed with the fact that this touches on like LGBT people in Catholic school. That's something I'm really interested in learning more about. And I've just heard such great things about both of these books, so I definitely need to pick them up very soon. So my most anticipated reads from the second half of this year, I have 2. One of them is The Stars Undying by Emery Robin, and oh my god, I am obsessed with this premise. When I saw it, I was like, what? This is pitched as for fans of A Memory Called Empire and Ancillary Justice. That's me. So like, I need this book. It is a queer space opera retelling of Antony and Cleopatra's story. I don't need to know more than that. I don't actually know any more than that, but I already pre-ordered this book like I know no one has read it yet. There's no ARCs available, but I had to pre-order it. The cover is stunning. The synopsis is stunning. Just everything sounds amazing. And one that has garnered a lot of hype is The Ones We Burn by Rebecca Mix. I am extremely excited about this. This is described as a dark, witchy, sapphic YA, and I am just obsessed with this. I also pre-ordered this one because I just have been hearing nothing but good things about it. It follows a girl named Ronka who is tired of death. She wants to be left alone living out her days in Witchick's wild north with the coven that raised her. But when she is named Bloodwyn, the next treaty bride to the human kingdom, her coven sends her with a single directive: to kill him. Easy enough. Ooh, I like this. But the prince is actually gentle and kind and actually terrified of her. He doesn't want to marry her, and he doesn't actually want to be king at all. And it's his sister, the wickedly smart, infuriatingly beautiful princess, who seems to be the real threat. Yes, I love that. I don't need to read anymore to know that I really need to read this. So the next question is my biggest disappointment of this year, which I'm going to preface by saying this is not like a bad book, and it's not a book that I rated 1 or 2 stars. I rated this book 3 stars, so it is good. I liked it, but it's just disappointing because I had thought for so long that this was going to be a 5-star read for me. Without a doubt, I was so convinced, and then it wasn't. I was so disappointed, and that is Light from Uncommon Stars. I really wanted to love this, and I did like elements of it, but it just wasn't for me. There was a lot of transphobia and abuse depictions in here, which definitely fits in the story, and I totally understand why it was in there and that it is relatable for people to read, but I just wish there was some kind of warning in there. And also the way that the point of views didn't really mesh together as well as I would have hoped. There's a lot of different storylines in here and a lot of different characters, and they're all super interesting, but they just didn't, it actually kind of felt like 2 books mashed together, which didn't work for me as well as I would have hoped. So unfortunately, this has been my most disappointing read, just because my expectations were so high. My biggest surprise was probably The Sentence by Louise Erdrich, which I read for my Women's Prize for Fiction blog, and sadly it did not win, but it is still on the short list and it totally deserves that, and in my opinion it should have been the winner. I love this book. It's not something I ever would have picked up if it hadn't been on the Women's Prize shortlist, and it is a literary fiction about a Native American woman who works in a bookshop, and then their bookshop starts getting haunted by their most annoying customer, and there is so much more to it than that though. That sounds like it might be kind of a fun paranormal fantasy almost, but it's very dark. It deals with a lot of heavy themes, but I love it. I loved the main character so much. She is so real and tough, and I love reading about her. I loved all the characters. I love it. I wasn't bothered by it, but the only thing is that it does deal with the start of the pandemic in March of 2020. So if that's something that will bother you, definitely look into content warnings. But I thought it was beautifully, beautifully done. It also deals with Black Lives Matter movement and things like that. So it was just such a beautiful book, and I'm so glad that I read it. So the next question, I actually have 3 books, so I'm gonna go a little quicker. It is my favorite debut authors that I've read. So first we have Kaikeyi, which is so amazing. It is a retelling of Kaikeyi's story, who is from the epic ancient Sanskrit poem, the Ramayana, and it is basically kind of in the same vein as Circe and Ariadne, which is to take a woman's perspective on a well-known historical myth or legend or story and kind of retell it and spin it from her perspective. Everything about this book was beautiful. I loved her character, loved the prose, just gorgeous. And then we have Bluebird by C.L. Pierlot, or Pierlot, And I love this so much. It is lesbian gunslingers in space. It was action-packed from start to finish. I just loved all the characters. And there's also a librarian in there, which I loved. The world building is amazing, and it was just so fast-paced and action-packed, like I said. I've seen this compared to Cowboy Bebop, so if you like the vibes of that, you will definitely love this book. I don't think the cover does it justice because it's not very exciting, but the book itself is super exciting, super creative, just impeccable storytelling. I loved it from start to finish. It was so, so good, and it's sapphic. And then I need to talk about The Final Strife, which is so good. I'm actually in the middle of reading this right now, so I'm not done with it, but this is a debut. I can't believe that this is a debut. Come on, like what? Like she is just a genius, genius author. This is a very long, like epic fantasy, and it is African and Arabian inspired. And basically the society that this girl lives in is, there are 3 different colors of blood: red, which is like royalty or rich people; blue, which is in the middle; and clear blood, which is like the servants and the slaves. And it is so good, so intriguing, and very like multifaceted and detailed, and just beautiful so far, and I love it so much. So my newest favorite character, I have 2. First, we have Seri from Dauntless, which is a Filipino-inspired YA fantasy that has been compared to the Hunger Games, and she's just so cool. She's like, I don't know, she's just like a little fighter. I love her so much, and her backstory is amazing. She's kind of like this person in between 2 worlds, and I love the world building of this book as well, but the character herself is just so good, and she's sapphic. But yeah, I love her, love her. But then we also have Jebi from Phoenix Extravagant, who is the non-binary protagonist of this book, and they were just a joy to read from start to finish. They are an artist who is like out of work at the beginning of the book, and that gets them mixed up with this ministry of the government who is like painting this mechanical dragon. I just love them so much. They are snarky, and they definitely have like, they're very headstrong, and I loved reading them. They're such an interesting character, and I related to them a lot, and I'm really confused why this book is not hyped. Like, it really should be, because it's amazing. Like, it's sapphic, and it has a non-binary protagonist, which you like never see, and it's an amazing sci-fi story. Like, people need to read this. The next question is a book that made me cry. I don't cry when I read books, so I'm gonna talk about a book that is very emotional though, and may make you cry, which is The Magic Fish, which is a graphic novel. It's a YA graphic novel. A lot of people have talked about this. It's about this young Vietnamese American boy who is struggling to come out as gay to his family, and he kind of has this interesting relationship with his mother in that they tell stories to each other and like talk about their emotions that way. The illustrations in this are just drop dead gorgeous, and it is very emotional but happy as well. So I highly recommend this if you haven't gotten around to it yet. And a book that made me happy is another graphic novel. It's The Prince and the Dressmaker, which I read pretty recently, but I keep thinking about it. It's, if you have watched or read the Jellyfish Princess anime or manga series, you would love this. It's about a prince who likes to dress up in dresses and go out in drag basically, and their pronouns are never said, but it's kind of like assumed that they're gender fluid, and I just love it so much. The art in this, I love the art style in here as well, but just the romance between the prince and the dressmaker is just so sweet, so sweet. I devoured this graphic novel in like half an hour. I loved it. It really made me smile. Okay, so for the most beautiful books I've hauled so far this year, first we have So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens, which is, oh, look at this cover. And the back. Just this art, like someone put their whole art degree into this cover. It is gorgeous. I love the colors of this so much. The book is also fun, but honestly, this was a cover buy for me. I love it though. It's very D&D inspired, and it's just a really fun romance, and it's really funny too. So I do recommend this book, but just whoever drew this, I don't know who drew this, but I love them. And then we can't talk about beautiful books without talking about A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy Lin. This was one of my most anticipated releases of this year, and it did not disappoint. The book is 5 stars, as well as the cover. Like, have you ever seen a more gorgeous cover? And the second book in the duology is on the same level, or even more gorgeous, to be honest. I love this so much. It is about a girl who is going to join this tea making contest in order to find out who gave them the poison tea that killed her mom. And there's tea magic in there. The tea magic is just outstanding. It's just outstanding world building, outstanding characters, outstanding stakes and pacing and everything. Just amazing, amazing YA book. Okay, so last question is, what books do I need to read by the end of the year? I have so many, so many, but I really need to read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I've had this book for a while now. I still haven't read it, and it's been on my TBR for even longer than I've owned it, and I need to read it. So I'm actually planning on putting this on my July TBR. If you don't know, this is like a found family cozy sci-fi. That's what Becky Chambers is known for, and it's about this ragtag group of people who make wormholes to travel through space, and it just sounds amazing. It's like universally loved, so I really hope I do love it. And then we have the 5th season. I am planning in December to do a vlog where I read the whole Broken Earth trilogy. This is the first book, and then there are 2 more that I don't remember the name of, but this is pretty thick, so I guess it's a little bit intimidating for me, but N.K. Jemisin is amazing. This will be my first book that I've actually read by her, but she has such an amazing reputation, and I've also watched her writing masterclass on writing SFF books, and she's just an amazing author and an amazing person. So I really want to read this really unique science fantasy novel, and I'm definitely planning on reading the whole trilogy in December, so watch out for that vlog. And then the last book that I definitely have to read this year is The First Sister, because I have been hyping this book up to myself for so long. This is a 5-star prediction, and I actually won the second book. I'm pointing over there because it's across the room from me. I won the second book in a Goodreads giveaway. Like, who knew people actually won those giveaways? So I kind of have more of an incentive to read this now, and the cover is so gorgeous. This is a queer space opera. I mean, I don't really need to know any more than that. It just sounds amazing, and I'm planning on reading this in September for Sci-Fi September, the readathon, so I'm looking forward to it. All right, so that is it for my mid-year book freakout tag. Thank you so much for watching. If you've done this tag, definitely link it down below, because I love watching everyone else's versions of this tag. And if you would like to do it, consider yourself tagged. Just anyone who would like to do it, really. I just love this so much, and I love how basically everyone in the community does it. It's so much fun. So thank you so much, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel for more bookish videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye!